Greetings, RSGA families. I'm Narvette Kelly, our curriculum resource teacher here at RSGA, and joining us for our next installment of Getting Families Ready for FAST Testing, we have Mrs. Kaysen, our instructional coach. Today's topic involves helping families understand the adaptive nature of the FAST tests. So the goal of today's session is for you to get an understanding of how FAST testing works while children are testing in the platform, and helping you to understand what students do during testing affects the outcome of the test based on the test design. So I'm going to turn things over to Ms. Kaysen at this time.
So adaptive testing, what does that mean? If you know, if you have some more information about what that means, it can kind of help you encourage your student in a more just specific way, so that you know how to encourage them to do their best on that day. So the students are going to be given their assessment online. All of their assessments now are online. As they're taking the assessment, the test is going to adapt to how they're responding to questions. So let's just say it was their first time taking the assessment. Because it is adaptive, it's going to start them with a mid-level type of question. But if they've taken the assessment before, which your student has, if they have been with us all year, they take it in August, they take it again mid-year, and then they take it at the end of the year. So since they would have taken it twice already this year, that test is going to start them at the level that they ended. So let's say your child scored a level 3 on the December progress monitoring assessment. It's going to start them with that level of questioning. So for the ELA test, they give them passage sets, is what they call it. And I'll show you an example of that. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you can see what we mean by that. Okay, so as you can see, there's passage 1 here. I'm going to try to scroll through it. There we go. Okay, so this would be your child's first passage that they would see, right? They have to read all of that. There's passage 2. They're going to have to read all of this. It's kind of labor intensive, and when we talk about stamina and reading stamina, this is what we're talking about. This is why students hopefully are reading on a regular basis throughout the school year in the afternoons, because when they're given assessments, these assessments, there's a lot to it. And if you're not used to reading a lot at one time, you tend to want to give up. And we're going to talk about why that might be a bad thing. So with those 2 passages, there's a test set, or a bank of questions, I'm sorry. So you'll see as we scroll through 1, 2, it goes on and on. This is, your child is sitting there for a good 2 hours, and this is what they're really having to give all of their attention to in this time. And at number 8, it keeps going, number 9, 10. This is a particularly difficult type of question for students. And then we get to the next passage. So you can see there were 2 fairly lengthy passages that they had to read, and then answer 10 questions based on those 2 passages. Now, what does the adaptive part of that look like? Well, they are going to respond to that passage set. And based on how they respond to that passage set, the test is then going to adapt to give them more difficult questions, or perhaps take them back a level and drop the level a little bit, just to make sure to see what, and when we're talking about levels, we're talking, when they score, they get a level 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Level 1 and 2 are below grade level. Level 3 is on grade level. Level 4 is considered proficient. And level 5 is above grade level. So what would be the difference between a 3 and a 4? 3 being on grade level, 4 being proficient. 3 just means they're doing pretty good with their grade level material. There may be a few challenges still that they need to kind of, work on a little bit, but it is on grade level. So, but what does that mean? So they've done that passage set. The test is then going to adapt. There is a bank that the state pulls from. So when your child is testing, it's going to get on grade level questions. These are all going to be sixth grade, based on sixth grade benchmarks. They're not going to get seventh grade. They're not going to get fifth grade. It's not going to drop them or raise them like that. It's going to be within the sixth grade band. But it is going to, the leveling is what we're talking about when we're talking about the adaptive test. It's going to be, is it more like a level 1 type question, a level 2 type question, or are we going to be able to bump them up to a level 4 or 5 type question? So then as they're progressing through the assessment, they're going to get more passages with more questions. And there's anywhere from around 32 to, I believe, 40 questions on these assessments. So how can you, as the parent, encourage your child? What we tell the students is that every question matters. In the real world, your child may even admit this to you. Our students, they may start strong. They may have really good intentions, and they're reading those first 2 passages, and they're highlighting, and they're doing the strategies and the things that they have been taught to do. But then they get tired, and on that second passage set that comes along, they're like, if it's a particularly difficult one, if it's a poem or something that they don't feel confident with, they may just decide, you know what, I'm going to Christmas tree this one. That's a really bad idea with an adaptive assessment. That's a bad idea with any assessment. But with an adaptive assessment, it is now dropping that level. So now it's almost like they're digging themselves a hole, and they're going to have to dig back up out of that. So to reach a level that they would want to, or let's just say to reach their capacity at that point, like what are they actually capable of? It's going to be harder for them to do that. So that reading stamina that I mentioned at the beginning is really important. They have to dig in, and they have to do their best throughout this entire assessment. So as a parent, how can you encourage your student or your child? Just encourage them to take brain breaks as needed. To stop, absolutely, after you read a passage. You know, one of the things that I work on with students is chunking and summarizing. Don't try, we're not robots. Don't try to read an entire passage set and then stop and summarize. Like, what did I just read? What was that about? Chunk it, put it into smaller, digestible sections that you can stop and think about and summarize as you go, as opposed to just trying to plow through and read a bunch of text at one time. So encourage them to chunk and summarize, to take brain breaks as needed, and to just give it their all and engage for the full 2 hours. And they have a full 2 hours. And then if they've been engaging for 2 hours and they're needing a little extra time, every student gets extra time at this point. All they have to do is communicate that to their parent. So the adaptive nature of this test is a good thing for your student, because it's supposed to be more tailored to your child's development, and actually seeing what their capacity is. It's just, knowledge is power. So understanding what an adaptive test is really important. So I hope that has helped. With the reading test, we have passage sets with questions attached. For the math test, it's a little bit more difficult because it's going to adapt by question. You're not going to get 10 questions and then it's going to start adapting your level. It's adapting with every question you answer for that math assessment. So I hope that helps. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, and Miss Kelly is going through the math assessment right now. I'm so sorry. But she's just kind of showing you, this is an example. And of course, Miss Kelly has posted videos for you guys before, to show you where to access these practice tests. It would be a really phenomenal idea to do these with your student. I know we only have the weekend at this point, but sometimes those last minute study sessions and reviews and reminders, just keeping it fresh, is a really great idea. And the good thing about these released assessments that we're kind of scrolling through here, they're available to everyone on Google. You just have to Google released FAST assessment, sixth grade reading and math. They're both available out there. And the cool thing about this one is you can see it has the correct answers and it talks them through how many students got it correct. You can see for this question, for example, it's on a coordinate plane. And there's two answer choices here that they have to pick. And this is pretty tough because it's a table. So the student has to look at this and determine how to read the table, first of all, and how to answer it correctly. And as you can see, the percentage of students answering it correctly, 35%. So that would be one to really go over with your kiddo if you guys are sitting at home and choose to work through something like this. But again, the adaptive nature of it, it just means if they do get it incorrect, they're going to be dropping the level and then moving it up as the student progresses. So hope that helps.
Yes, and as we wrap up, I just want to reiterate again what Ms. Kaysen shared, how you can determine where a child will start at. If your student or if your child took the second progress monitoring assessment in December at any school in the state of Florida, the FAST test is going to start where they left off. So if you review your child's PM2 FAST score, it's going to start them at that point. The companion video to this video is the video on how to determine learning gains for your child. So reviewing that video to see what your child has to score based on how they scored last year would be a refresher, just to give you an idea of what they're going to have to get to for this year. If your child did not test in the state of Florida last school year, your child won't have learning gains, but their progress will be measured based on how they achieve, whether that's level 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So if this is your child's first time taking the FAST test, it's going to start them at the 6th grade level because there's no prior information in the system for them. So for this, if your child did not test last school year, there's no learning gains to consider. It's only going to be achievement. So we hope that this is giving you a better understanding of how the test itself works and why it's important to encourage your child to do their best on every single question. And if there's a question your child gets stuck on, tell them to flag that question. And then they'll have the ability to go back in the end and answer, and encourage them to take advantage of all the time they have available to do the best they can on the test and to stick with it. One of our future videos is going to involve, maintaining stamina during the test. So that'll be during a separate session. But thank you so much for joining us for this little mini clip on how the tests are designed and how they work so that you can use that information to encourage your child. Have a great day.